Right then, welcome to the podcast. This is actually your podcast, Graham Mann, senior partner of H2O Building Services.
The first.
My name's Josh Gudgeon. I'm the owner of Get Your Media. So we're filming out of Get Your Media Studios in Leeds. I'm just sitting on the first few podcasts to sort of steer you in the right direction.
Thank you.
Because I hear that you have got quite a few guests lined up. I think for this first podcast of yours, it'd be good to sort of give people a flavour of where you started. So before H2O, what actually got you into the water industry?
Right, well, it goes back probably about 28, 29 years. I used to work for a company called Oldham Signs, based in Leeds. I joined them as called account executive, so I was learning about manufacturing signs, fixing signs, running sign projects for like Midland Bank, NatWest, major banks, petrochemical companies, that sort of thing. So primarily doing surveys, measuring up buildings for new sign schemes. Really, really interesting. Probably one of the best jobs I probably ever had. I stuck it out for 2 years, tried to get promotion, and it wasn't to be. So I thought, well, I need to get into something else. But anyway, that was sort of trundled on for another 6 or 7 months. Then I did a survey for the Horse and Trumpet pub in Leeds,
Right.
For some new gold lettering on the front, sign, pictorial signs and neon signs, and walked in and said to the manager, coming to the sign survey, and he said, "You want to look at my bloody bills, So I said, "What's wrong with your bills?" He said, "My water bills." I said, "I'm not here about water bills, I'm here about signs. I'll do the survey first and I'll come talk to you about your water bill." And
That's really random.
It was really random, it was. So anyway, I did the sign survey, went to the loo, and I noticed that there was two big like pots, what I call sinks, two large cisterns, really old, like square with lead pipes going in. Water's gushing in. The toilets are flushing like Billy-O. And went and had a few beers with a manager, like you did in those days, drinking and driving. And it was quite funny because he said, "I've got a bill." So he brought it out. It was £7,000. £7,000. How long's that for a year? He said, "No, 3 months." That's a lot of money. He said, "Tell me about it." He said, "So it's £30,000 a year for a pub." So I said, "Well, what do you want from me?" He said, well, "Can you do anything?" I said, "Well, I suppose you turn the thing down, or what you need is a control box on the wall that picks up movement, and then with a valve attached to the feed to the pipe. And when someone walks in and walks away, it flushes, and then no one goes in, it doesn't flush." He said, "Well, put one in." I said, "Well, I haven't got one. It's just something that came to my head." "Oh, all right." So I said, "Who do I need to speak to at the brewery?" He said, "Mike Hollingsworth." Yeah, that's a blast from the past. Mike Hollingsworth, 30 years ago. He was the estates manager for Tetley's in Leeds. So I walked in and I made an appointment with him, and he said, "This is really interesting." He said, "I'm looking at water." He said, "Let's go out for a few beers to the Adelphi, which is a pub, Tetley's pub right next to the brewery, which is renowned for like sweet beer. I don't know if you know it, but
I don't know it. No.
You want to go there, Adelphi in Leeds. It's the best. So we sat down chatting. Before we went there, I have to say, he printed out all the data from the whole estate for the water bills, so the cost and the water consumption. In those days, you had like a large printer with like a big sheets that come on, and that took about 2 hours to print out the whole estate. There was about 3,000 pubs. That's a lot of pubs. So got back to the office, identified the Adelphi, so we're on track here for £35,000 a year. He said, "That is a lot of money." In those days, 28, 29 years ago, £30,000 for water for one pub. So he said, "What's your proposal?" I said, "Well, what I need to do is get some money together, if you're prepared to wait, find a company that I can work with to design this, what I've got in my head, and then will you trial it?" He says, "Yeah, how long do you need?" I said, 6 to 9 months. He said, "Well, you've got it, but meantime, what do I do?" I said, "Well, I'll go back to the pub and I'll turn the water down, right down, and then obviously you'll save some money that way. And then when I've got something to show you, I'll come and see you." So I appointed a company called Systec in Leeds,
right,
electronics business, and they wanted £5,000 for the development up front, and £5,000 for completed development, a sample, and the drawings. So 8 months passed, they called me in, I said, we've been testing this device. We had the electronic box and the valve and everything on a board. All works perfectly well, sort of in a laboratory type situation. So I said, well, can I go out and test it? He said, yeah, sure. When you give me the other $5,000. Right? I said, okay, then I'll go to the bank, get the $5,000, came back, and it was about 5 to 12, something like that. And I gave the money over to the MD. I can't remember the guy's name now. And he said, well, there's a sample. He said, and I'm going into liquidation. I said, well, where's the drawings? He said, well, I don't know where they are, but that's it now. So I'm left with a sample, a working sample, instructions, and no electronic drawings. So I'm stood in reception. He just walked away because now he's going into liquidation. And what happened?
What's he waited for you to get that money over then to him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Never.
Yeah. So he walked away. Reception door shut. I'm stood in reception. I'm thinking, what do I do now? So me being pretty tenacious, I thought, I'm not having this. I need to get this tested. So I found a pub in Hull, put it on test for 3 months. Water consumption dived, and I thought it works. So I went back to Tetley's and I said, look, I've conducted a real live test in this pub in Hull. Looked at the figures. He said, brilliant. He said, right, I want them rolling out through all the pubs. He said, what's the price? So I'm sat in this office. I've got no drawings, no production drawings.
Get your shoes and socks off trying to count it up. How many do we need?
I couldn't believe it. And I said, 250 plus VAT. He went, right, so I'll write you an order out for 100 straight away, and then you crack on with those. And I thought to myself, I'm producing it. All I've got is a sample. So I said, well, thank you very much, mate. He said, I'll see you in a couple of months. And yeah, fine. So I walked away. Bearing in mind, I'm still working for a sign company. So I thought, I've got to do something here. The first thing I did was, when I got home, I said to my wife, and then we divorced. I said, look, Kath, I need to get some money out of the house. In fact, I've done it. I've got 10 grand out. She went ballistic. Absolutely ballistic. So that was for further production.
Yeah.
So I rang the company up about a week later. It was shut, wasn't it? As luck would have it, days after, because it went into liquidation, days after I got a call from a guy called Paul Dixie, and he was the electronics development director of Systec. And he rang me up and said, hi, Graham. He said, I'm out of work. He said, but I've got the production drawings because I put the thing together for you, right? He said, can we do a deal where I make them for you and you sell them? I said, funny enough, I've got an order here for about 250 units. He went, you never have. I said, yeah. How long will it take to produce them? He said, well, I've got no money. In fact, I don't even know where I can make them. He said, but I'll start by making them in my cellar, right? So, I know it sounds bizarre.
This is the best story ever. I love entrepreneurial stories. This is class.
This is how it was. This is how it was. But that time I handed him a notice. I had no job. I'd take money out of the house. I didn't know what was going to go off, but I had an order. 250 of these units. So it's like 250 times 25, 250. £250 million, wasn't it? Yeah. So I had this thing here, no money. So I went to see him, and it was indeed in the cellar. That's all he had. He doesn't live far from here, actually, in Paul Dixie. And we kept in touch ever since because we bought them. Anyway, so he got hold of the guy that actually put the thing together, the production guy on the shop floor, the production manager. I can't remember his name. And so they set up a business called Systec. No, not Systec.
The first company, wasn't it?
Microelectronics, something like that.
Yeah,
that was the name of the R&D company. So anyway, cut long story short, started to make them. I gave him $5,000 up front to help him. Went to see the production, which was like half in this cellar and half at some random shed, this guy's house. And we produced the first 50. We got all the valves from a company called ASCO, got all the cable, and it was a case of who's going to fit them? Well, there's only one person who can fit them, that's me.
Right, okay.
So I'd never fit these things before. Anyway, I struggled really because I could put the thing on the wall, I could wire up to the control box and the valve onto the feet of the pipe, but the electrics, I thought to myself, I'm not happy with this. I couldn't wire a plug, and that's still to this day. So I got guys to fit it and stuff, and we did the first 50, then we did the whole lot. And whilst I was doing that, I came across a pub that had a water leak. Basically, the meter was whizzing round in the chamber. There must be a leak here between the meter and where it enters the cellar. even though the unit's on, it's working, but it's switched off. So I rang up. I had to go to a call box because I didn't have a mobile phone then. Rang Mike Collinsworth and said, I think you've got a leak at this pub. So he said, wait a minute. He said, I'll have a look at it. What's it, Golden Lion in Wortley? I said, yeah. So I'm studying out. He said, flipping heck. He said, I've just had a billing for $5,000. I said, well, it can't be the toilets because they weren't flushing all that much. It must be the leak. He said, can you fix it? I said, yeah, no problem. So I put the phone down, ran back up to the pub. I thought, hang on a minute, I've got a leak between the meter and the cellar. I proved it by switching off the stop tap and the meter's still running. So the water in that line is going into the ground. I didn't have a clue. So I started to look around and I saw some like soggy patches on the sort of open ground. I thought, how am I going to do this now? So I went back to the phone box, went through the yellow pages, called a plumber, and he got to the phone. He said, yeah. He said, I'll fix it for you, but you've got to dig it up. I went, okay then. Look, I said, can you be here in 3 hours? He said, yeah. I said, how much will you charge me? And he said, well, I'll call it 30 quid. I said, right, fine. I think it's an old lead supply. He said, yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I know the pub, because I'm in the local area. So I went down to the local DIY, got myself a shovel, right? And I'm there in a suit, shoveling up this thing. And it came absolutely pouring out with his water. So I rang back to the meter chamber, turned the water off, and it all just stopped. And it was just like a mud bath.
Yeah.
Plumber turns up. He said, "You've been having fun, haven't you?" I said, "Look, really." I said, "I'm covered in mud and rubbish. And can you help me?" Type of thing. Yeah, no problem. So, long story short, I could obviously clean it all up. Got hold of the lead supply, fixed it, switched the water back on, tested. That was fine. Put it all back together again. Job done. So that was my first leak detection and repair job. Right, so I'd fixed. Anyway, so what happened over the years? Then we did the whole of the Tetley's portfolio, which is about 3,500 pubs then, and then it was a part of a group called Allied Lions. Now, Allied Lions owned 6,500 to 7,000 pubs nationally. So there was Joshua Tetley, Einkoop Retail in the south, and Taylor Walker in the northwest. There's 3 different brands. And we fitted all those with urinal controls. There were thousands upon thousands of them. And we made a lot of money. I went from 0 year one to £500,000 turnover.
Wow.
Bearing in mind I'd never run a business before. So, but I didn't quite get my costings right.
Right.
So
I'm gonna ask that question. I'm gonna say, how did you get on with that?
Yeah. Well, what's happening is we're basically the cost of the building. I got some more staff in, fitting costs, all the rest of it. We made a small profit, but what I hadn't realised is we were surviving on the VAT, so we were spending the VAT, and it was kind of like it was close to cost, and a whole host of things happened all at once. And then went on for about another couple of years, and that business was called Water Management Systems UK. So that was the first time I was in business in the water industry, and it was in the papers actually, Yorkshire Post. I think man strides out to save water, and I'm there striding out with a briefcase across a Appley Bridge down in Leeds. Yeah, it's kind of fun. I was slimmer then, And and I just learned. I think after that, the brewery got wind of what we were doing in Leeds, and they said we want to look at reducing our water costs in a brewery. So I had to get to know production, and then I had basically it was just, we're a solutions business. So if a company's got an issue with their water or their waste, I have to then learn about the process, and then look at ways of reducing volume and waste or reusing water. And we did some really good work there. We saved a lot of water. So the water they used in the final rinse of the barrels, we recycled it for the first wash of the barrels, because when the barrels come in, they've got labels on them and dirt and rubbish, and there's all sorts of rubbish inside. So we used the last rinse, which is relatively clean water, for the first wash. And that saved them £50,000-60,000 just straight off. It was a simple case of, putting in new pipe work. So the rinse and the wash were happening at the same time. So the barrel's going out, final rinse in wash. So you just configured the pipe work. So the final rinse went round again to the first wash, and it saved them £50,000, and they were absolutely delighted. And for that, I had a tour of the brewery, spent the whole day there looking with the chief brewer, looking at all the process. And they use, I didn't know this at the time, but they use borehole water on I think it's a 60-40 basis ratio to make the beer.
Yeah.
They showed me the boreholes and everything. And that was my first introduction to the water industry, really, into the industry. And from there on, we did work for Whitbread Brewery, and then factories, and then we did NatWest Bank, and we put in thousands upon thousands of controls into NatWest Bank, thousands of controls into McDonald's restaurants. But each individual project that we did, there were things other than just fitting water saving devices. Yeah. So we were learning things about billing, about leak detection, about repair, and I was having to do a hands-on job all the time, learning about it. So it's hands-on learning about the industry, learning how bills are compiled with various different elements of charge and stuff like that. It's really, really interesting. And then dark period of my life when got divorced, lost the business, huge debt.
Really?
Yeah.
What? So this business,
Water Management Systems UK. Yeah, we went basically went bust, and I took 2 years out of the business.
Never.
Yeah, lost a lot, lost a lot, and then spent 2 years doing nothing really, just wine, women, and song, and that's the clean version. And yeah,
why? How come you lost the business then? What happened there?
well,
were it personal reasons or were it for the
yeah,
business?
it was a marital affair breakdown.
I didn't know if it was from the business, like you said about the cash flow problems.
Well, that didn't help. But I mean, everything just came to a grinding halt when you got your mind on your marriage and your child and everything. And you're trying to get the business together, and it just didn't work. So it just went belly up, and I took 2 years out really, just doing nothing. Dark days they were, really dark days, because then I had to go and get a flat, move out of the house.
Yeah.
Sold everything, didn't have a car, everything. So rock bottom really, as low as you can get really. And one day I just woke up and thought, I'm having none of this.
Yeah.
I'm having none of this. And I met a couple of guys, a businessman, just random, and we got chatting. He said, well, I'll tell you what, we'll help you set up another business. We'll fund it. We'll put, I think it was 10 grand into it. If you're confident you can get the work in, orders in, then we'll support you. And then once we've got our money back plus X, Y, Z, we'll walk away with a profit, and then you can carry on. And that was like, thank you very much. So I had a little office about half the size of this and a telephone, and they paid for it. They were in the office further down the hall. Accountants they were.
Right.
I can't remember the names. One guy was Mo Chowdhury. I can't remember the guy's name. Might have been Bill or Ben.
Bill or Ben.
Random name. And so I got on the phones, and we got some work with Midland Bank, some work there. We got some more work from NatWest Bank.
Yeah.
Doing metering and water saving and that sort of thing, and it just grew from there. And within a year, we turned over about £250,000. So they had their money back plus.
Yep.
Didn't begrudge them that at all. It was a very good profit for them, but it was a good leg up for me.
Yeah.
Sat here on my own, no wife, on my own, doing nothing, and then eventually met somebody else, and then formed H2O Building Services, and it just grew from there. So we just here we are today.
That's amazing. I mean, like going back to the story about sort of your proactive approach to sort of problem solving. Did you learn much of that? Because obviously you were in the Navy. How long were you in the Navy for?
4 years.
Because from my time on ship, being a marine engineer, it's very reactive, which sounds exactly like that. Sounds like something I could do. It's completely reactive on a ship. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
Were you on subs or
Surface ships?
All right, okay. It's completely reactive, constantly putting out fires and floods and chasing systems and trying to figure out what. It sounds exactly like
what they teach you in the forces, though. They teach you to make good. So if you're in a situation, you've got to get yourself out of the situation, no matter what it is. So I think if you seem to be trained and to use your creative part of yourself. So you could be out, I don't know, say in the middle of the jungle, and you're taught to be creative. You've got to be, and there's a set of rules that you've got to put in place to survive. And I think that followed through in my business really, because I don't give up. I've had lots of business deals that have gone belly up.
Yeah.
In fact, when I met my now wife Nikki, I was still carrying a debt from the voluntary arrangement that I made. I was still making payments to the bank. it took me 5 years to pay off about 13.5 grand.
Yeah.
You know, so I was still paying all this money back. Because she said, "What's that on your statement?" And I said, "Oh, it's a long story, and to tell her all about this business." And then when we formed H2O, the second project we got after moving house was with Woolworths.
Oh, right, okay.
So we did a £250,000 deal with Woolworths in the back bedroom of our house.
That's amazing, that.
With 2 little desks. So about this size, desk that side, that was reception. This in the corner here was me. And the guy from Woolworths sat there.
Really?
Yeah. And we saved them, £300,000-400,000 before they eventually went bust, didn't they? But that was a landmark project for us. We also did a water project for Hull University. We supplied them with 134 urinal flush controls. So that paid our mortgage for the next 9 months. So we knew we were home and dry on that. Then we got into Woolworths. And basically the money we earned from that was going to pay the mortgage for the next 3 years. So we knew then we just got to keep repeating the business and grow the business to a point where we're financially secure. But I never let my foot off the gas ever. And I think forces do tend to train you to be creative and to be tenacious and never give up.
Yeah.
It's all too easy to wrap it and thought, I often think, I had a real bad day today. I might as well just go busking in Batley.
Yeah, don't do that. don't.
Why Batley? I don't know. But.
Yeah, Batley. Don't do that. Don't go down Batley.
But yeah, and it's been interesting, and I think the last 20 years have been absolutely phenomenal.
So when did H2O? So H2O was founded in 1997.
1997, yeah.
Wow. So you started off with yourself and your now wife, or just you initially, or is it?
Just me and Nikki.
Yeah.
And then it's grown to 5 now, so 6. We've got 2 surveyors, and we're taking on more office staff now for bill validation, bureau service, that sort of thing, and projects. So we're doing a lot of leak detection. So we're using partners, Gary Jordan, who does our leak detection and repairs. So we provide a national service, and it's growing and growing and growing. And we've now got some very substantial contracts. So we'll probably recruit another 4 or 5 this year, something like that.
Wow.
Yes, it's really growing now. Water deregulation sparked it though. 2017, the water regulations with regards to whether or not you can change supplier came into force. So companies can now switch water supplier. There's about 24 companies now that are set up as water retailers. So you don't have to stay with Yorkshire Water or you can switch water supply.
Are you not restricted in Yorkshire with just Yorkshire Water? Is that not?
No.
Is that not true?
No. Well, Yorkshire Water's been broken up now. It was you've got all Yorkshire Water wholesale. Now you've got the retail side of the business, so it's split.
Right.
But that is now split, and that split traded for about a year and a half as a water retailer that bought from the wholesaler, Yorkshire Water, oddly enough. And now the retail side's been bought by a company called Business Stream, which is a Scottish-based company. So they've now got their foothold into Yorkshire.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of customers.
Because most people won't know that water has been deregulated, will they? Like, they just sort of suck it and see with water.
It's only commercial.
Right, commercial, yeah.
Business or non-residential, so charities, councils and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The savings aren't massive. It's talking a couple of %. It's a new market, but now water's been deregulated. It's raised the profile of water to the extent where a lot more larger companies are actually looking to reduce their costs and become more environmentally friendly.
Yep.
Sort of the carbon reduction and things like that. So it's been a good thing for us in a lot of instances, deregulation, but it's taken time to gain traction.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of work on the website and promoting the business. And we're now driving forward, and we've got some pretty impressive customers now. So the future looks absolutely fantastic. We've never taken a dip. We've always sort of gently grown, but not stratospherically. If you see what I mean, we've not hit the magical 2, 3, 4, £5 million turnover, and be able to do something really special in the water industry. So we've now got to a situation where deregulation has started to bring water and wastewater to the boardroom, if you like. People go, are we really spending $3 million on water? well, yeah, we're spending 15 million on gas and power, 3 million on water. We've done the gas and power. Might as well look at the water now.
Yeah.
And savings between 30 and 50% are not unusual.
30 and 50% savings?
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. Leakage has gone through the roof in the UK. I mean, we're repairing leaks. We've got a project on now in not far from here, Huddersfield Road, for a client. And they moved into a building, didn't get a meter reading. A year later, they got a bill for 80,000. Bear in mind, they've only got 12 staff. And then 6 months later, they got another bill. So the total bill now is £209,000.
Never.
209,000.
And that's because of leakage then?
This kind of leakage, yeah. And the main leak was in the meter chamber. So the meter is owned by Yorkshire Water, and there was a leak on the pipe, on the outlet of the pipe from the meter, was contributing towards this huge cost. But so now we're putting in a complete new supply, and we're negotiating with the water company to reduce, if not cancel, that bill.
So you're negotiating on behalf of your client?
Yeah.
That's what you want, isn't it? Last thing they need to be pulling their hair out trying to...
Well, it's having a significant impact on the business. Although it's a multinational business that we've been doing business with for a number of years. We've got about 1,900 sites nationally.
Yeah.
So they've got plumbing outlets and manufacturing and processing, glass manufacturers and stuff like this. And this is a glass cutting business,
Right, okay.
which is actually has only been there about a year, and is moving because it's expanding. Would you believe it?
Right.
Into a factory that's going to produce 3 times more than what we're producing now, and that's going to be, I think it's in Hull. Going to employ about 150 people, and they'll get one of the other brands to move into this building after we put the new supply in. Yeah, and it's a pretty significant leak, £250,000, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, just them savings that you're saying between 30 and 50%, that's going to grab a lot of people's attention, you know, especially if there are... So who do you talk to in businesses to sort of... Who would be in charge of that in a large corporation business? Like, if you had to say, go to a company and say, have you looked at this in your business? Who is it you speak to? It wouldn't be the MD, would it be like what would be the role of the person in a business?
90% of our business comes from procurement.
Procurement, right.
So buyers or procurement.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago it was utilities managers, now it's procurement. But we've got no salespeople. So we rely purely on
your website.
Our website. We do a lot of work in LinkedIn. We send out a lot of content on LinkedIn, with advisory content, case studies.
Yeah.
We print some case studies. In fact, yesterday we did some leak detection and repair, and the leak was costing the client £113,000 a year. £113,000 on a water leak.
That's like, they're like mind-blowing numbers. Like, they are ridiculous numbers.
That's half their water bill. It's quite a large site. It's a leisure site.
Yeah.
Like a caravan park, 1,000 caravans and stuff. Quite a large infrastructure, but the fact is, it's £100,000 is £100,000.
Of course it is, yeah.
So how much business have they got to make?
Yeah, just to cover that.
£100,000 profit.
Wow.
It will be the turnover, be the profit.
Yeah,
so they probably have to do a couple of £1 million turnover to pay for that leakage, and that's the way. That's the way potentially we look at it, because we used to deal with FDs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we don't have any salespeople. Companies ring in, and then we pitch for business.
So is that the purpose? So the purpose of this content now is it's more of an educational piece to, I guess, procurement people in businesses and just general.
Yeah, chief executives of large organisations, small organisations, SMEs, anyone's got half decent water bill, right? From £1,000 for one site to we're dealing with sites now. I've got one now that's come on board. They're spending, I think, £2 million. It's quite a complex site.
Yeah.
On the East Coast, £2 million now. There's potential there to save 30%. 30% of £2 million.
Yeah. That's a nice chunk of cash in it.
600,000.
Yeah.
And when you come out with these numbers, it's kind of clients a little bit disbelieving. And I say, well, I'm not selling it to you.
Yeah.
You called me up, and I've analysed your bills, and if we stick to this water strategy, which I delivered to them in that order, then this is what we aim to achieve based on our industrial and commercial knowledge. And we hit targets. I don't think we've ever slipped a target once.
That's amazing. I mean, like, that's it. It's like facts and figures. Like, it sells itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even in the industry or even really close to the
What's
industry.
your water bill for this place?
Luckily, I don't pay for it. I mean, but I'll put you in touch with you if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
To be fair,
we do a lot of work for landlords.
Yeah.
Savills,
yeah,
massive property company. We did pitch for Jones Lang LaSalle, which was a large property company, but we were pitching that through a third party. So we kind of didn't have ground level control with that. We were going through a third party energy consultant who was trying to pitch for the energy and also the water.
Yeah.
So we partnered up with them, but we didn't get that for whatever reason. But there's time because we do have competitors, one or two good, majority not so good. I think it's all down to knowledge and expertise. How long you've been doing something.
Yeah.
You tend to become good at it, don't you?
Well, I mean, like your numbers speak for themselves, and your website, obviously with all your case studies. Again, there's no denying a case study, facts and figures. You can't. Don't matter
We've seen the Asda one when we only did 60 odd sites. It's close on £1 million, I think, isn't it? Something
Well,
like
I've got this first one here, Juicens here. You've got 750,000 saving.
Well, that's a bit out of date. It's about 1.5 million now.
Is it really? Never.
Yeah.
Which one did you say? Asda.
Asda, yeah.
We saved over 800k.
Yeah.
Never. McDonald's, $250,000.
Yeah. That ended up to be about 600,000 time we'd done all the work.
Summerfield, 950,000.
Now, Summerfield, that's an interesting one because Summerfield was predominantly based in the south, and it was bought. I think it merged with Safeway, and it was bought by the co-op in the end.
Right.
So the co-op bought the whole estate, but Summerfield was a southern-based brand supermarkets, and that was a really interesting project. Had a lot of leakage, a lot of wastage.
I can't.
It's mind-blowing figures, isn't it?
I honestly cannot. I can't comprehend these numbers.
I know.
It sort of goes to show, like, for it to be. I guess it's been overlooked massively by all these massive companies, hasn't it, for such a long period of time?
Still is to a certain extent.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It still is.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can just see like this sort of content now that we're creating. When you put that out on LinkedIn and people listen, and they're going to be like, "No way, there's no way that's true."
Have you seen some of the checks? I've got checks that we got from water companies for overcharging. I think the biggest one we'd ever done was £500,000 worth of overcharges.
What, so they got it refunded?
Yeah, back to Manchester Metropolitan University. I think it's the biggest single site refund we've ever had.
That is amazing.
£500,000. I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Are people just coming into your office and hugging you? They're like, "Are you kidding me? You just got £500,000 back."
I don't think the energy manager would hug me. Well, he might have done. He was happy. But
I would have done.
Well, you're welcome to. I know you.
I totally would have done. That's amazing.
Purely business, you understand?
yeah. Hey, it's money, innit?
Yeah. They are impressive results. And the thing is, we give clients an indication of what the potential savings are because we take their bills and provide them with a desktop audit report. So we take the bills in, we analyse them and say, we think you can save you X, Y, Z. I think you've been overcharged. There's a potential for that. And then we give them a proposal. And
Right.
it's not cast in stone, so it's normally negotiated. And if 10 clients were to call us up, and majority of them we would be able to do something for, and the majority of them we'd sign up. So we're quite flexible on fees and fee structures and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that. But and we retain our clients for quite a long time. We're pitching now for some shopping centres in the south, and this guy's spending about $1.5 million on a couple of shopping retail parks. $1.5 million. I think that's that. And I said, well, what do you think potential savings are? I said, looking at the bills, between 20 and 30%. He said, that's big money. I said, well, you're spending big money.
Yeah.
I cannot see where you're using that volume of water in these situations, because you get we've got auditors that work with us that I train up, and you look at it and you look at the facilities, look at the infrastructure, and then you come up in your own mind. It's not we haven't got a computer program for it.
Like an algorithm or
No, it's purely, you've got X units, you've got an X operation. We ask them questions, and then when you look at the bill, so actually you're using 50% more than I'd expect you to. And water's a physical thing, so you can be quite specific about it and say, well, you should be using X, but using Y. So the potential savings are this.
Yeah.
And I cannot honestly recall a single time when we've not hit a target, because water's a physical thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And some clients say, will you guarantee the savings? I said, well, I will personally. I'm not going to give you a company guarantee.
Yeah.
My reputation and the reputation of our business stands on delivering the service.
Because you're quite well known in the water industry, aren't you? I mean,
in a good way, but I'm quite outspoken. I'm quite direct, because there's a lot going on in the water industry that the public don't know, and customers should know, but don't. So we tend to print a lot of content on our news blog, not only advice and case studies and examples of our work, but also things customers should know.
Yeah. Which I think is a good thing. I mean, like, I strongly believe in sort of being outspoken and being disruptive in the marketplace, because it's one of them, people have got a right to know, and there is that freedom of speech, and people should be allowed to say if the facts and figures are right, put it out there. It's not on your head, it's on their head for being wrong.
I'm started now going to water conferences, both on the wholesale and retail, so water industry conferences.
Yeah.
Networking, and I know a lot of people now that run large water companies, and privately they respect and accept what I say, but a lot of the time not everyone will admit that they agree with you.
Yeah, that's to be expected.
But they actually do privately, which is good for me. But I do take criticism. I do get pops and say you can't say this and you can't say that. Well, actually I can, because it's true. And it's in the public interest. It's not rude. It's not derogatory. I mean, we've got a situation now where there's a certain water company, so I won't mention at the minute, but in the near future it will be there in lights. But they're sending out water bills for government departments, major banks, and car dealerships into us, and they're not our clients. So it's a data breach.
Ah, right, yeah.
And we're talking about quite a serious situation. And the water company concerned is just not really taking it seriously. And I said, well, the public should know that your inability to keep their information confidential has been broken on 4 occasions. And blow me, yesterday we got another load of bills to the value of about 100,000 from another motor dealership. And that's 5 breaches of data protection. And these are really serious instances.
Well, it is with in a GDPR, and I mean, you can't even email folk anymore. Never mind sending people's details across.
Yeah. And I've said that I intend to put something in print about this, because I think customers should know that your water retail business has an inability to keep customer details confidential. And they quite categorically said to me that if you put anything in print that's not true, we'll sue you for defamatory remarks. Well, it is true. Absolutely it's true. But I thought, well, rather than poke them with a stick, I'll keep it quiet for the time being. Yeah. Unless I'm not satisfied that they're not conducting themselves properly and they've not gone through the proper procedures. Yeah. Because they should go now to I think it's the Information Commission, and report these data breaches, and also to the water regulator Ofwat. That should be reported, and the appropriate action should be taken to ensure it doesn't happen again. But it's happened again, right? And it kind of when you speak to a water company on a client's behalf, you need what's called a letter of authority to act. So on headed paper, the client will say, we authorise H2O Building Services to act on our behalf in all matters to do with our water and wastewater charges. It's on their headed paper. And that allows us to access their account information and represent them on their behalf. But this data breach situation, I mean, I don't think who's the bank concerned. I think it's HSBC or National Health Service in East Midlands would be particularly pleased that the water company or the water retailer was sending out their billing data to random consultants within the marketplace without their permission.
Yeah, definitely not. No, that's not good. That,
and it kind of grates on me, and they're not. I don't think they're taking it sufficiently seriously. And this was 3 weeks ago, and again yesterday. So I guess we're sort of becoming a customer's champion as well.
Well, that's it. I mean, like if you are fighting so hard on behalf of people, and you're trying to you're obviously remaining professional and offering that professional service and trying to sort of square up these people that are, sounds like they're giving a bit of a cowboy's job at it. You know, from an outside looking in, it just seems a bit ridiculous. So yeah, fair play to you guys for sort of sticking up for your customers and making industry what it should be rather than what it I suppose it is.
Well, we take on some quite significant cases with. We're just taking on another client now. Spend about £7 million a year on water. National leisure company. 85% of their water bills are incorrect, overcharged, and 15% are undercharged.
85% overcharged.
That's the whole.
Is it by accident? How does it go on? Is it just one of them that it just completely gets overlooked by the companies, and then are the water companies just chances as well? Like how?
Well, they're always, prior to water deregulation, they were always overcharging and undercharging, probably in equal measure.
Right.
Some a couple of 100,000, upwards of £1 million across a large portfolio. So businesses are trying to reduce their costs, and they think everything's fine, and we come along and do a historical audit and find actually it's not fine. The last 6 years you've been overpaying this, you've been overpaying that, and the numbers are staggering. If you went through our news blog, you see copies of cheques for £250,000, £100,000, and it's, I think it's on water company overcharges. These are significant numbers. Now, it wasn't particularly good before deregulation.
Yeah.
Now, deregulation has happened. We're allowing people to switch water supplier. When they've been uploading all the, these 1.2 million non-residential customers' records onto a central database they call a central market agency, that's basically, call it a large filing cabinet where all the customers' accounts are. So when the water retailer takes on a new customer, it goes into the central market agency, pulls out the data, and then they add their markup on their charges, and they deem them to be correct. But when all this data was uploaded, a lot of the coding was incorrect. So at a stroke of a pen, over the years, the lead up to deregulation, there's tens of thousands of businesses that are not charged correctly, totaling tens, if not hundreds of millions of pounds. It's a big deal, a really big deal. The public, in terms of businesses, have no idea. The water regulator now has an idea, because I had an hour's conversation with the enforcement department of Ofwat, and they could not believe the scale of poor service and overcharging in equal measure. And so they said to me, what do you think the state of the water industry is? I says, we're in crisis. So 2 years down into water deregulation, 2 years later, we've still got thousands, if not tens of thousands of businesses being undercharged or overcharged. If they've been undercharged, they can expect a massive bill.
Yeah.
I've got one other extreme example. We've taken on a customer recently where they were paying something in the region of about £1 million a year on estimates, so estimated bills, on estimated volumes for the last 18 months, 2 years. I asked them to take a meter reading just to see how accurate the estimates were. Yeah. And they're due a back charge of just over £1 million because the estimates are too low.
Yeah, so they owe £1 million.
They owe £1 million.
What?
So the £1 million they're paying is too high anyway on estimates, and they owe £1 million. That means they have a really serious issue, a very serious issue.
How, from a business standpoint, how does it get rectified? So if I was the business that owed £1 million, and is it the company's fault for undercharging? So is it a case of the company's still got to pay back, but can it be done over a payment plan, or can you get it written off because it's their mistake, not your mistake?
Well,
is it more complicated than that?
It can be more.
Right. Okay.
Not more. Not is. Sometimes it's relatively simple and straightforward.
Yeah.
The norm is not.
Right. Okay.
Because the £1 million they're paying a year at the minute is too much, even on estimates.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I think they've probably got some billing issues or leakage issues or something like that on these 3 or 4 sites.
Yep.
And a further bill coming to them of £1 million because it's been underestimated.
Yeah.
Tells me they've got a very serious issue. They've probably got leakage on the supply, and it's leaking like Billy-O.
Yeah.
And no one spotted it because they've been having estimated readings for 2 years. So they thought the estimated readings were thereabouts. What they should have done is take meter readings and realise it's not thereabouts. And we're pitching for this project, and I actually rang the guy up and told him, and he was very disbelieving because of the number. So he's put a recommendation to the board that to get us in, basically, to sort this out. So probably going to be the biggest single project in terms of, incorrect charging, maybe, that we've ever dealt with.
Wow.
But we've just picked up another portfolio that spends about 30 million over 1,000 sites. So these numbers are quite staggering.
Yeah.
But the amount of billing errors are also quite staggering. We do it day in, day out. On a small scale, a lady rang me from Bradford on a small business park, and she said, "Oh, Graham, so we only employ 6 staff, and I've got a bill here of £3,000. So that's obviously wrong. So she said, I called the water company out, Yorkshire Water, and they said, oh, you've got a leak. We went out and did some leak detection, submitted a report to her. The essence of the report is basically that the meter reading's incorrect.
Right.
So all the meter readings for the last 12 months have been wrong, and she's owed back £3,000.
Oh, wow.
So I got a £3,000 back, and I also claimed back the leakage site surveying report fee from Yorkshire Water, because they said it had a leak and they haven't. It's the correct charge. So she's got a cheque there for 800 quid. So she's got a refund of £3,000. She's had a refund of our fees, and it's cost nothing, and she's happy as Larry. And I said, well, put a reference them. Reference and we'll put it on the website.
100%. That's a proper good news story. Like that's exactly what people will need to hear. People need to know about.
Well, there's some stunning references on there. Yeah. We didn't used to ask clients for references, and I thought, well, we need to be even more visual than what we are. We need to be more punchy, and get them out there. So every time we do a successful project, or nearly all successful, but every time we do a project now, we ask if the client minds if he'll just write up a short reference.
100%. I mean, there's no better. It's one thing for a company to sit there and say how good they are, but it's another thing when the customers are saying how good they are. It's 10 times more powerful. No, that's amazing. I think we'll sort of lead towards the end of this podcast now. I think it'd be good just for you to give an idea of what people should expect in the coming weeks from the rest of the content that you want to create, because obviously you've got guests lined up, I believe. Is that right?
Yes. The idea is to promote the water industry, the water and wastewater industry. Educate, promote, inform, discuss opinions from all walks. So we'll have suppliers in who've got innovative water saving devices they want to push out into the marketplace. Some good, some bad. So I'll be judging them, helping them, put them in the right direction, giving them an experienced customer experience view over the products. Other water industry executives from water retail companies. That'll be interesting to see how they view the marketplace and the opportunities. Talk about water deregulation. We'll have people do leak detection and repair. Some of our experts in leakage. So it's going to have a diverse range of subjects and guests on. We'll be issuing probably a program within the next couple of days on what we intend to talk about. And then I think the thing with the water industry is you start talking about leakage and it drifts into water management systems where you're fixing hardware or software, or hardware to water meters to monitor the flow profiles and things like that. Or there's a lot of things out there that we're going to be talking and showing the general public, and hopefully they'll listen and learn, and
I like it. I mean,
fun doing it.
I'm so far detached from your world, but I actually find it fascinating. It's been good to get to know you over the last couple of weeks, because you're a straight talker, straight shooter, and I think it's a good thing, and it'll be a really good thing for your industry and for your business to have this content out there. So I'm excited to sort of get this show on the road. If you are listening on any of the platforms, iTunes, Spotify, be sure to hit subscribe. Check out Graham Mann on LinkedIn and h2obuildingservices.co.uk for more information. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. If you're watching on LinkedIn, drop us a comment. Let us know what you thought of the first episode. It's been mega. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Catch you all in the next one.
Cheers. Bye.